Hello.
Hey, Ryland, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How are you doing tonight?
Not doing too bad at all. Where's home for you?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited to do this. I appreciate the opportunity.
It's awesome, man. Yeah.
I got to sit. Did you do a webinar with Mike Lacona?
Yes, I did. I did a couple with him.
Yeah. Okay. I sat on that one.
Yeah.
Or the last one, and a couple months ago. So, yeah. It's. How long have you been with Faith Life?
I've been with Faith Life for 7 years.
Okay.
Yep. So this is I'm in my 7th year now. So it's good. It's been great. Yeah. So I'm really enjoying it. Yeah. So if you don't mind, what I'll do is I'll start the night, and then I'm going to do like a 10-minute quick overview of some of the basic features, like my regular demo.
Okay.
And then you're going to dig into more heavy lifting stuff. Also, I'll let you're a panelist right now, so I think you can share your screen, which is.
Let me try that.
Sure. And are you able to show a little bit of the sermon manager?
I am, absolutely. All right. So what are you seeing my log off screen?
Yes, I am. Looks great.
Perfect. I'm going to close down other programs.
No problem.
All right. And then I need to. All right. Yeah, that'll be.
That's
great.
So
let me put that in here. That's actually, man, I love Logos 9. I think the people did a fantastic job. The user interface is about the same, but like the fact book stuff is incredible.
Yes.
That really is like, and then also the sermon manager.
Yep.
And the updates that have happened to it. So like, I had my sermon series ready for January, which we're going to start January 3rd. And we pushed it back a week, and the update lets me push all those sermons up.
Oh, that's nice.
To add, and it does all the date stuff correctly, so you're not having to re-enter dates. Like, that stuff is solid. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can show a little bit of, I'm not going to spend any time on that. I'm just going to do like a basic study on Luke chapter 2. I'm going to do the basically birth narrative, one of them.
Yeah.
Show some of the translational issues that the Logos helps clear up. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. So what I'll do, there's like 21 people already logged in right now. That's amazing.
Wow.
We'll wait until a few minutes after 8, and then we'll get started.
Do you know how many signed up?
Yeah, last count, and normally the way these things work, you never get anything close. You usually get like a third to half of any people that sign up. So let's take a look. Got the app on my phone. 128 people signed up.
Okay.
So I bet we'll get 40, 45 people that'll show up to this. If you get a third of the people that actually show up, then sign up for something, even if it was only like 2 or 3 days of signups, that's pretty good. So that's I think we'll hit that. We're at 22 people right now.
It's like opening up. It's like sending out church bulletins.
Exactly, that's correct. Yeah, you have enough ready for everybody, and only around like 15 people take them, and they're all left lying on their on the pews or chairs.
Yep. Yeah. And so I guess with COVID, your whole career kind of got shaken up. I mean, you're doing this stuff, but it's different than it's been before, right?
Yes. I'm normally a national presenter, so
yeah.
In 2019, I was on the road close to 120 days that year. So last year, and I went from doing that to my last flight was March 7th, and then done. So I haven't seen an airport in like since March, which I actually don't really mind. I like being home. I got a 4-year-old and 2-year-old, so it's kind of nice to. And it's kind of the trade-off when I'm, when I'm on the road, I'm working. When I'm home, I'm home. So but now it's a regular sort of, somewhat regular schedule, like Monday to Friday and a little bit of weekend stuff. But it's more of a normal schedule. But I'm able to see the kids and go to sleep in my own bed at night. So I really enjoy that. So there's some trade-offs to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So where's home for you? Where are you based out of?
So I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas right now.
Yeah.
And we live in a suburb called Bryant. Right next to it. Kind of grew up all over from St. Louis to Nashville. My family's all over the country. Parents are in Houston. I've got a brother and his family up in Ohio, and then a sister up in Massachusetts.
Oh, nice.
So we're tired of moving.
Yeah, no
kidding. You're up in Canada, aren't you?
I'm in Nova Scotia, the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, but the nice thing is with the job, we're allowed to be remote now. So that's why I'm here. It's working out really well. So
that's awesome.
If I say a few words funny, it's the Canadian in me coming out. I got to say out because I normally would say out.
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 Yeah.
About, doubts.
Jason will kind of get on to me because every so
he makes fun of
often,
me all the time, Jason.
oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he makes fun of everybody. But he'll make, sometimes my Southern will kind of come out and he'll get on it, but it is what it is.
That's okay.
And,
Yeah. Hey,
so
John from Toronto, Ontario. John, fellow Canadian, good to see you. Hey, everyone in the chat box, tell us where you're from. Where's home for you? And as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, we're just going to wait around 3 or 4 more minutes, and then we'll get started. And we hope that this will probably last no more than 45 minutes. Hopefully we can keep it at a reasonable length because we want to respect your time. But if we go over, that's fine. But we'll try to stay at like pretty brief. We got Illinois, Virginia, Ohio, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Kansas City, Denton, Texas. Bam. Oh, wow. Well, your dad grew up in Halifax. There you go.
hey, Chile.
Chile, Santiago, Chile. Florida, no snow. Actually, we're getting hammered right now with snow. I'm currently sitting in here, and my driveway is going to be, I'm going to shovel it for the first time after this is done. We're getting about 20 inches of snow tonight, so we're just going to get a big dump. Yeah. So all of you who don't have to suffer from the snow, I'm jealous. Yeah, so what we're going to do in a couple minutes, we'll get started in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to start this webinar by giving a brief overview of Logos 9, just sort of the surface level, like what you'd see on stage at a conference, like a 10-minute basic presentation. That's for those of you who are not familiar with the software. Most of you are, but some of, whoa, Sydney, Australia. What time, Phil? What time is it where you're at right now? And so I'll just give the basic intro, and then Ryland's going to take us deeper. He's going to give us sort of the, you really want to take it to the whole other level. He's going to introduce you some of the features, how to use the software for power users and for pastors. So I'm looking forward to that myself because I'm learning new things all the time. And there are no complete Logos 9 like experts, complete experts yet. Everybody's learning it still. Like they're doing new updates. Like I think a week or two ago, there was some of our updates are almost like an upgrade, like a whole pile of new like additions and like an addendum to a feature of the software that just transforms it.
Yep.
Beefs it up. So I mean, that's it. Yeah, 9.1, as Richard was saying, was a pretty fresh update. It absolutely was. So you're going to see some of that in probably Ryland's presentation. You might touch on a couple of the things that are new with that update, but overall, you're just going to introduce to some of like the in-depth study that's going to help you to really like make Logos work really, really well and do some pretty cool searches. So what is it? 9:02 my time, Atlantic time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. That's hilarious. I know it's not Atlantic time, Atlantic Standard Time. You probably don't hear that too much. You know what's funny is that Newfoundland, Canada, which almost everybody's heard of before. It's like the legendary Newfoundland, Canada. It has its own time zone, which is 30 minutes different from Atlantic Standard. So it's 9:32 p.m. there right now. It's like they're like halfway between. Like you hardly ever hear that where the time change is not a full hour; it's 30 minutes. I mean, that is very Newfoundland. Those of you who know Newfoundland, that's pretty funny. Yeah. So I'll wait 1 more minute and then we'll get rolling. But that's a pretty good turnout so far. We got 37 people, 38 now. I think we're going to cross 40 for sure. There's always people that 39. Oh, come on. As soon as they hit 40, we're starting. Come on, baby. Hit that 40 participants button. One more. One more person and we're going to get rolling. I'm going to go like a game show host and go like right into like, oh, here we go. 40 people. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to the Logos Tips for Pastors and Power Users webinar, where I'm just going to stop doing that. Thank you so much for logging in tonight. There's 41 participants, 2 panelists. I'm Greg Monette. I live in the East Coast of Canada. I'm here with Ryland, and Ryland lives in close to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is a place I'd actually like to visit. And we live in 2 different climates right now. It is currently a snowstorm where I'm at right now, and we're getting like a huge dump of snow. So I'm going to pray for my back because I will be shoveling the first time tonight, and then I'll be shoveling again tomorrow morning before my wife goes to work. So we're going to get started. The point of this webinar, we're going to try to keep it around 45 minutes, maybe go over a little bit. is to show you some of the newest features of Logos 9, but not only that, not just the service level, but to really an in-depth study for pastors and sort of pro, Logos power users. So if you're somebody that's like, you use Logos a lot, this is going to be a mixture of both. You've never used Logos before to the power user and really with the pastor in mind. So what I'm going to do without further ado is I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to take the first 10 minutes to give you the sort of 35,000 foot view, like the Air Canada view or or like United Airlines view of whatever airline you like to use. For Australia, I don't know what you'd use. Some pretty cool Australia. Probably Australia's got like nicer airlines than any of ours. Probably with like they give it like steak on the plane and like the really tasty stuff and like shrimp cocktail and all that. But anyways, I'm gonna give a brief overview of the software. And right off the bat, you guys all got the email from me. You guys qualify to get the 20% off discount. You have until Saturday night to get 20% off. Go to logos.com/December. Qantas, that's right, John. Qantas in Australia. It is excellent. I'm jealous of that. Yeah, that's a great airline. So you can tell people are listening to me talk about useless stuff when they comment in the box, and I know you guys are hanging on my every word. But so yeah, so I'm going to introduce some of the brand new version of the software. So I'll share my screen and let's get rolling. And can you see my screen?
Can.
Perfect. Okay, so basic overview. This is not going to be for the power user. That's going to be Ryland. But this is sort of, and you'll notice right off the bat, this looks different than version 8 and every previous version. That's because we now have dark mode. And I personally really like dark mode because I can study, there's not as much, I don't know if just maybe a little bit less blue light. I mean, I still sometimes wear blue light glasses to filter that, but it's easier on the eyes and it's just a nice display. I mean, you might not like that. You might want to use the sort of light mode. It's easy. Go to tools, program settings. It's like the second or third thing from maybe the top thing. Click on that. You can set up whatever setting you want. It does make you restart the software, whichever mode you're in. So it's not like you can press a button and it just transforms right away. But anyways, the power of Logos 9 is that we basically made the search capability even more powerful. It's faster, it's cleaner. We've streamlined it. There's no more a command box anymore. There's just the search box ready to roll. So here's the homepage. Here's what you're looking at. Different infographics, different, trying to give you a 15% off discount. You don't want that. You want 20% discount. So go to logos.com/December until midnight on Saturday to get that discount. And if you need a longer payment plan, if you see prices there, but you'd like to get 24 months on silver or higher to stretch out the payments, I'll put my email here in the chat box, greg.monette@logos.com. Email me and I'll help you out with the payment plan, whether you're buying it for the first time or upgrading as well to give you better payment plan pricing. So here's what the homepage looks like, different articles. It gives videos to show you how to use the software, etc., different descriptions of the books in your library. But the real power of the software is, once again, is that I have a library here I click on my library, I have a library here of over 2,300 books. I have the best commentaries, dictionaries, encyclopedias, maps, original language tools. What makes Logos special is, most of you already know this, is that Logos will read through all the books in your library in seconds, which would normally take hours, like 50 to 60 hours of page flipping. So I'm going to put in Luke chapter 2, and I can press go, or I can hit the house button because I already have a preset. I kind of cheated. So I'm just going to click this, and look at that. Logos takes us to the passage that we're looking at. And I specifically want us to look at the birth narrative, Luke chapter 2, for no particular reason. It's not like Christmas is a week from now. It actually is. So what did Logos just do? As most of you know, it read through all the books in my library, grabbed everything on Luke chapter 2. So, and it looks a little bit different. You'll notice that on the left side of the screen here, look how commentaries are displayed now. Your commentaries and Logos now work the way you wish they would have worked all along, because they not only give you the list of the commentaries in like priority order, you can prioritize the order. If you click on series, it gives me the commentaries based on, so I don't know why that's not working right now. There it's loading up. It gives me the series, so it tells me which commentary series that the commentaries are from, or who the authors of the commentary. So it'll display it based on the author or denomination. So some people will say, I'd like to know which of my commentaries are written by Anglicans. There's all the commentaries I have in my library written by Anglican scholars. So you can sort of understand maybe the theological framework of their mind, of how they've composed their commentary. I mean, truthfully, it's not always super helpful to do that. I mean, it's out. I swear, sometimes Baptists have the Anglican perspective, and sometimes Anglicans come out with the Baptist perspective. There's no like rule of thumb, but like this is an Anglican commentary writer. He's going to have this particular point of view. Two Baptists don't agree with each other, and two Anglicans don't agree with each other. That's why we have commentaries and lots of them, which is wonderful. So we have denominational perspective, and then we have even era. We're going to skip over type. Era is pretty cool because it actually like, a lot of people will say, when I buy logos, you guys probably just put a bunch of like public domain stuff in there that doesn't cost anything, and you charge me an arm and a leg. That's not true. I'll show you. If I click, I can look at the commentaries written by like the church fathers. There's the ones I have in Luke. I can look at modern commentaries, which are from the year 1700, 1959. So it tells you the date when they were written there. So I can look at the commentaries there, and then I can look at contemporary commentaries. So I can see my commentaries based on when they were written. So you can actually see the development of theological thought from commentaries depending on where they were written. So I mean, like the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls transformed how scholars interpreted like a ton of the New Testament. It's huge. If you look at the modern commentaries, you're going to see almost nothing on anything to do with Dead Sea Scrolls. But if you read the contemporary ones, you start to see a whole transformation of thought take place because you can see like we've had new discoveries, more language studies, older documents were discovered, even like Greek manuscripts. We have more updated, revised sort of translations of the Bible because our Greek text has been more sort of made more as accurate, close to the original. So there's your commentaries on the left side of the screen. Below that, your cross references. They're all provided for you, so you don't have to scroll anymore through. Your cross references are provided for you, parallel passages. We have cultural concepts, so you can sort of understand the cultural context behind the passage you're studying. But let's focus on the biblical text. I have the ESV open right here. And what I really want to get down to is right here. I want to get down to verse 7. And it said, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling cloths, and laid him in a manger because there was no place for them in the inn. Now, I actually, I've done a little bit of work on this already. I actually don't really think this is the best rendering of that text, of that from the Greek. And why do I say that? Well, you'll notice if you look at some English translations, and the specific word here is laid them in a manger because there was no place for them in the inn. When you're reading the ESV translation, you immediately think that this is a commercial inn, that Mary and Joseph were frantic, sort of like as a lot of the nativity stories tell you, and you're like the way it's displayed in movies, like they're in a hurry to like find some place for her to give birth. And it's like everybody keeps turning them down. Like this ancient, Palestinian community in Bethlehem, they basically shut them out and said, nope, no place here. Sorry, next, nope, my family won't take you in. And so they have no place to go to. There's the commercial inn is like filled up, and they didn't make room for them. But look how the NIV translates it. It says, and she gave birth to her firstborn a son, and she wrapped him in cloths, placed him in a manger. And here's where the difference is, because there was no guest room available for them. That's a significant difference. ESV says inn, which makes you think that it's a commercial inn, whereas the NIV says there was no guest room available for them. When we understand now from the construction of first century homes, and we have them from Capernaum, we also have them. We found them. You can see some of the ruins of them in Nazareth. The manger was actually built right into the home itself. Sorry, where the animals would live were built right into the part. So if it got cold in wintertime, the animals would be brought in. It actually sort of gave heat to the house, not just sort of the fire, but the animals were in there as well. And the guest room was a room in the house. So there was no guest room available for them. The guest room was full, so there's no rejection of Mary and Joseph anymore. They're being welcomed into the main part of the house for her to give birth, and then they laid him in a manger because there's no guest room available for them. Why do I think that this is not relating to a commercial inn? That this is not displaying the inhospitable nature of the people of Bethlehem. Rather, the guest room was full, so that they welcomed them into the main room, sort of the living room of the house, is because the Greek text itself. So let's take a look. Let's go back to the ESV and let's look. The word in. I'm going to hover over the word in there, And on the right side of the screen here, it says Cataluma. It gives me my original language studies. And then look how it translates it. It actually translates it right, lodging place or guest room. So our lexicons tell us it's a sort of a guest room. And then, but where does Luke have another place where he actually references a commercial inn? In fact, yes, he does in Luke chapter 10. So I'm just going to go right here to Luke chapter 10. And I'm going to go to verse 34. Remember the Good Samaritan? And he went to him, bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he set him on his own animal and brought him to an inn. That's not the same word in Greek. That is pandokion, which is the word for a commercial inn where people would pay. And then it tells us that the word here is actually inn, and it's actually a different word. So if Luke wanted to mean that Mary and Joseph were returned away, that there were no commercial inns available for them, he would have used the same word he uses later on, which our lexicons tell us specifically means a commercial inn. Pandokion and Cataluma are not the same thing. Pandokion is what is used in the story of the Good Samaritan, and in Luke chapter 2, it's Cataluma, which means the guest room was full in the house that they were staying at. Because if we go back to Luke chapter 2, and I apologize for taking so long in this. If I go back to chapter 2, and it says it says while they were there, the time came for her to give birth. Not they were in a hurry for her to give birth. While they were there, they had time to find a place to stay. They most likely were staying with family, and the guest room was already full. So they brought them in. Our understanding of this needs to change. The people are not inhospitable. They took very good care of Mary and Joseph, most likely family members. So anyways, so when you do have original language studies with Logos, helps you clarify some of these things. So some of these sort of misperceptions some of us might have even about the birthday artists sort of get clarified a bit. And your commentary has shed light on that. And so if you like, you're reading through your commentary, you like what it says, I want to keep this for later. I copy it. I open up my Word document. I paste it in. And Logos, the bottom of the page, puts the citation in an exact citation format for you, so you get perfect footnotes. And then we have some new features of the software as well. So some of these are older. You've seen before and after, which takes aerial photographs of the Holy Land. I'm going to go down here to Capernaum, and you can see that this is an actual aerial photograph, sort of like a drone photograph of the ruins of first century Capernaum, the town where Jesus made his basic ministry, where Peter was from. And you can we've created a basic brief sketch to sort of show what the town would look like in the first century. So you can see it come alive. And then we have another new feature that I'd like to show once again. I'm going to go back to the text, and I should have showed this right off the bat, is reading through chapter 2, and then it gets into here from Galilee. And I was like, well, I want to learn about Galilee. I click on Galilee here, and look what happens on the right side of the screen. Fact book, which we've made 10 times more powerful. It's overlaid over the biblical text. You click over any person, place, thing, topic that's underlined in the biblical text, and Fact Book will open up right here on the left side of the screen. This is huge. It gives me all the interpretive insight I want in Galilee. It gives me overview of it. It gives me maps, gives me key passages from Scripture, Old and New Testament, what Galilee is referred to from the original languages. It gives me key events in Scripture. All my dictionary articles are all there. Done. Easy, smooth. I mean, I can look at the information I have on King David. So there you go. David, bam. You want the interpretive insight, you get it immediately. So that's really, really cool. So I'm not going to go on any further. I just want to give you a brief introduction. That's sort of a basic overview of Logos 9. Well, I didn't even show you any of the cool features. That's just a basic overview. And now I want to introduce Ryland. Ryland is going to take us deeper. So I basically just gave the overview to sort of whet your appetite. That's sort of basically getting started. It does word studies, your commentaries are there, everything's set up in a way to help you understand the biblical text quickly, to save you time. And when you have Logos, you can put it on all of your devices. You can put it on your laptop, your home computer, your tablet, your smartphone, as many devices as you personally own, Mac or PC, it'll go into all of them. So your library goes with you wherever you are. I have a library of 2,400 books right here, and that goes in my pocket. That's so cool. I can look up anything quickly. So anyways, Ryland, I'd like to welcome you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. And
my pleasure.
So folks, I invited Ryland to join us. He's going to show us some of the heavy lifting, how to go deeper into using it, how to be like some more power user tools. and some tools that are going to really relate to for pastors that are going to want to work on the sermon prep and really going deep in Bible study. So, Ryland, I want to turn over to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Greg, for having me. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be here. I love Logos Bible software. I got in 2 years ago, and I use it multiple times a day on all my devices, from my phone to my iPad. I preach from it. The new preaching mode on the iPad is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm just honored to share with y'all. I want to talk about, kind of from a pastoral perspective, how I use the software, and then I want to get into some of the search capabilities that the software has, because they're outstanding. And so let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to share that. And is my screen up? Is my Logos up? Perfect. So I kind of want to move from I want to show you something that I've not seen anyone else do in all the training I've been to. And if someone else has seen this, please let me know. But until then, I'm taking credit for it. I've absolutely loved this feature. One of the things when I've got the software that I noticed that's missing is, in every sort of Bible in the front, like a family Bible, there's places for dates, weddings, funerals, those sorts of things. I thought, where am I going to put that sort of family stuff in the software? So when I pass it on to my kids one day, Lord willing, all that family information is there. So what I've done is I've created a family notebook, and I think this is just an amazing feature of Logos, called Family History. Everybody gets their own notebook in my family. And so my daughter has one. This is Madeline. We're going to put when she's born, when she was baptized. I've got pictures in there for the kids. And if you noticed up here, I've got anchored to dates. So let's say I open up a journal, and we're going to go to September 27th. I've chosen the color brown, but if you can see, this anchored note is the same one that we find over here. And you can change the color. You can do, whatever you want. So if I change it to green, it's going to show up green within the actual daily devotional. It's going to work in any daily devotional that is linked to the date. And so for me, what it helps is, if I'm doing something with the date, it's going to bring up that information. So when I'm in September 27th, which is when our oldest daughter was born, when I hover over that icon, I get a little bit of information about Madeline. So that's kind of a basic way to do that. But I love this feature with family history. So I put family deaths, and with the new feature in notes to be able to upload photos, and you can drag and drop them, or there's an option to upload pictures, insert media, and it will insert. But the way that you're going to anchor it to a date is, let's just open up a new note. There we go. We've got one down here. Let's remove this anchor, and let's go to, we'll say just January 1st. It doesn't matter what date it is. Whatever date you're on, when you're in that daily devotional, this is the only way you're going to be able to anchor that note. When you're in your note, you're going to add an anchor, and it's going to ask you about the active reference January 1st. The only way you can do that is when you've got the daily devotional open. You can't do that any other way. And let's try April 4th. We'll do the same thing. Now that we're in April 4th, we're going to add an anchor. Same option comes up when you go to add the note. And I've chosen the color brown because that's my last name, but you could choose a color you want. But this is where I think it gets neat. I've got one for family deaths, and I've added my grandmother in there. She died. And this is also for my kids. So when they see this, they're going to know Granny. That's my dad's mom. She died February the 24th, 18. And look what I have links to within that note. I had the privilege of preaching her sermon. So there, I've got her sermon linked into that note. I've got Psalms 23. So let me go to Psalms 23. Let me pull that up. So when I'm in Psalms 23, is the note not there? Oh, okay, there's the note. That brown icon is going to show up. It looks like a Post-it note because it's anchored to this note. So when I click on that and I'm in Psalms 23, I'm going to see, oh, my grandmother, Psalms 23 was read at her funeral. And then you can put links to the obituaries, and those companies are never going to take the obituaries offline because they want you to come back to their website. And so you can link the obituary directly into a family note. So I've been using this a little bit, adding pictures. And then as things happen with our kids, you can write things to your kids within those notes. So that's the first thing that I want to share that I've not seen anybody else do, not really a pastoral way, but within the software that makes it better to add that information, especially as you think of how other people might use it. And you can share that notebook. You can share your family history notebook with other members of your family who are going to use Logos, or maybe buy a Logos package tonight. So that's the first thing I want to share. The second thing is, I always thought, I wish there was a way that would help me keep up with pastoral care checkup. I'm a preacher. Our congregation isn't huge. We run about 250, 300 before COVID. As you all know, things have changed, but I was wishing, boy, I wish there was a way that I would get notifications and reminders of who do I need to check up on. Well, I've turned all of my prayer list to function as different kinds of lists for me. And you can see on my home screen, I've got my 2020 prayer list, and I'm not going to open these up because I don't want to embarrass anyone within my life. But I've got the 2020 prayer list. Those are all my personal. I've got a pastoral care checkup list. So people in the congregation that I need to check up on, I'm going to put that information in there, and I'm going to get reminders on my home screen when it happens. I've got part of the leadership team, a Bible study group that I'm a part of. I've got a prayer list set up. These dates are birthdays of family members and friends that are important to me. So when the date comes around, it's going to show up on my home screen, and then a coaching group that I belong to. And very easy to do this. You're going to go to Docs, and you're going to set up. When it comes up, we're going to want to create a new prayer list. And let's just say, we'll say demo check up list. Now, this is where you get to add all the things. So we're going to say Mrs. Smith, and we're going to say she's in, you can put anything on here, room 314. And what I like to do in here is to add the dates when I make contact with someone. So let's say I'm going to, in fact, I'll just show, put it on the home screen in a minute. You can choose how often you want to pray or have this event be notified. So let's say I want to do this every week, and we're going to start it on the 17th, and we're just going to let it run indefinitely, whatever the word is. We're going to let it run, or you can say, hey, I want to go for a year, 6 months, whatever it can be. But you're going to say, I'm going to let it run once a week on Thursday forever. Mrs. Smith is in there. We know she's in room 314 at the hospital. Now, look what just happened automatically. The prayer list shows up on your home screen, the demo check up list. Mrs. Smith is right there. When I click on it, I can come back here and I can say 12/17/20, talk to her on the phone, and feeling depressed, or whatever it might be, something she shares with you, stories, anecdotes. You can save it all in here. And what we're going to do, all that information is saved. We're going to click that it's done today. Now look what happens when we go back to our prayer list. That part is done. You've completed your prayer list for today. So you could put people on the prayer list and say every week or every 2 weeks or once a month, I need to check on some of these people within my church, my ministry, family, whatever it is. And you get to keep a running list to see how God has worked in the life. So let's say we're going to say, we'll just make up a date, but 3/1/10, Mrs. Smith finally went home. And then when we're done with that, that goes into the answered list. That's not going to ever show up on your list again. So I think the prayer list feature to function as a pastoral checkup document, a fantastic tool. Another feature that I have loved with the release of Logos 9 is the sermon manager, the sermon builder, but the sermon manager in particular. Let me open it up, and I've got to dock it so you can see it. There is so much going on here. So let me go to the week grid, and we'll just go all sermons. I've been writing my sermons in the software for about 2 years. And this is my upcoming sermons. These are what I'm going to do. As you can see, I've got it planned out through February 14th. Since COVID hit, I'm not planning out a year in advance anymore. I'm just taking it a couple months at a time. But you can add all these different sorts of things. So you can add your speaker. So I'm on a preaching team at our church, even though I preach the majority of the time. We have different people in our on our preaching team, like John Kimberlin. He's our youth minister, wonderful guy. I give him a sermon, and I don't do anything with that, but it lets me know who's on deck or who's going to preach or who preached that week. Because a beautiful thing about the software is they updated to where you get sermon cards for the upcoming sermon on your home screen. So that's always my first card. This is the title of my sermon. That's the sermon series. I'm preaching Sunday at Little Rock Church, 10 a.m. When I click on it, it opens that sermon and I'm ready to write, and Sunday's coming. I better get busy. But coming back to the sermon manager, this is just a phenomenal upgrade, because before, if you used it, you had to go into your docs and do a search for all your sermons. But now you could say, I need to find all my sermons with gospel culture. Look at that. That series comes up. Or I want to find all the sermons preached by Ryland Brown. All those, I mean, it's just fantastic. You can search anything within there, and you're able to add different things to your view here. So if you click on the right-hand side here, you can, for those of you who preach from a lectionary and your church is really moves to the church season, you've got options for liturgical day, liturgical season. If you're a preacher who goes to different places, or you're a church multi-site and you've got to preach at different locations, you can put the venues of where you preached. It's going to jot your mind if you ever have to come back to that sermon. Wonderful, wonderful feature. And we had this happen to us this week within our staff. We decided to push this sermon series back a week. The one that we were going to start January 3rd. We thought, let's push it back one more week, and then we'll have another week of promotion, and I can add another one at the beginning. And normally that would have been a chore to do, but look what you're able to do in Logos 9. You can click on one, and just like you would do any list online, you can do a select, click them all, right click, and then look what they've added. This is one of the recent updates, just phenomenal. You can move all those forward a week. You can move them back a week. You can also over here change the data of what you need to do. Fantastic. So you can say, I'm going to change the series. So let's do this. Let's just say we're going to change it to New Year's. I don't know, but look at that. It changed, the series changed to New Year's. So you're able to change the tags and the data for your sermon series automatically. It's just absolutely wonderful. I want to change this back because I will forget. So gospel culture. And then the other thing is when you right click on it, I just want to show you this, move forward one week. Look at that. You've got an extra spot now that you can say, hey, this is a guest. We'll just say guest sermon, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And then we're going to say, I need to delete that one sermon. I want to get these back here, and I want to move back one week, back in action. I absolutely love the new sermon manager. You can also go to this radial view. I love this radial view. This lets you know all of your sermons throughout the year. Some of mine I don't have the dates for, but it gives you a view of this is the Jesus story. So when I click on one, oh, there's that sermon. So this view is this line is your sermon series. This line is the actual sermon. So all these are Jesus story sermons. These are the individual sermons. And depending on what time your sermon is that you put in the information panel, that's going to change the date. So I had a funeral here on November 11th at 2 p.m. Or I wrote a blog post for Brave Daily. I had interviewed Dr. Steve Runge recently. It's going to come out pretty soon in our tips and tricks group. A lot of you all know him, great guy. But I'm using, for those of you who ever do interviews or podcasts, I'm actually using sermons to put my interview questions for the preaching mode. It's outstanding. So I do as much in Logos that I can. So So in this radial view, you can say, hey, I want this year, next year. You can have a liturgical view if your church moves around the liturgy. And I believe, I don't use the liturgy view very much. I believe I'll have to find out the information of where you can change that liturgy, because I think you can do it on different kinds of liturgy, but I don't use that feature very much. So if you're not used to writing your sermons in the sermon builder or the sermon manager, I encourage you to use these features. They're phenomenal. I've been preaching from the iPad. uh, from a sermon builder, phenomenal tool, because what you're able to do is you can add a timer, and you can say, hey, I only want to preach for 20 minutes, and it'll give you a countdown. And when you get to 2 minutes and 1 minute, a big bar comes across the top that lets you know what you're aiming for. That might not be important in your congregation, and that's okay. But in my setting, I really feel like I'd rather say less and let the people leave feeling enthused and like, hey, this was great, instead of seeing how long I can go. So that's me. Another thing that I want to talk about. So that's kind of the pastoral side. A lot of you who watch, when you buy the software, you probably feel overwhelmed. You've got all these options of docs and guides and tools, books, sermons, websites. I've got these things up here. That's a new feature, is you can add these bookmarks like you would. And so I've got a bookmark for sermon and a bookmark for website. And most things in Logos, most of you probably know, are just drag and drop. You can drag them up to the top and then place them in a folder, but you've got all these things. And I hear all the time, I don't feel like I use more than 95% of the software. If that's you, I want to say, if you're using it at all to grow closer to the Lord, man, that's wonderful. The second thing I want to tell you is you can't break the software. Click on everything, which is what I started to do when I got into it. Was I just started clicking and seeing what was happening, and seeing what I could do. We've got a lot of messages coming in. Let me check the chat. All right, we got a lot of things going on there. Appreciate everybody being here. But if you feel a little bit nervous or overwhelmed, just start clicking things and seeing what they do. You're not going to break it. The other thing I want to say is that probably most of the things that you can do can happen. The tools and the guides are absolutely phenomenal. I use guides more than I do workflows, but the guides they have are just fantastic. Theology guide, topic guide, the new counseling guide. I'm going to go over the theology guide in a few moments and show you how I use it. But just pick one of the guides and say, hey, I need to find out more about my passage. So like an exegetical guide, and this is a great example. When you hover over something, Logos often explains it to you. So the exegetical guide steps through a passage in the original languages word by word. It wants you to exegete the passage. A passage guide, on the other hand, gathers together a wealth of information from your library about a given passage. Well, I imagine most people can kind of get a sense of what the difference between an exegetical guide and a passage guide. And down here, you can always make your own custom guide, which is what I've done. I'll show you when I prepare a sermon. I'm in John 12, 1 through 11. This week, I've got my sermon prep, and right there, it's already there. Look at all the things that Logos lets me go through every week, from biblical people, places, all my commentaries, theology, and you can add and change up here. It's just incredible. And so some of that's old hat, but if you can play around with the guides and the tools and just dig deep, I guarantee you'll feel, more than you probably think you do, but you can't break it. Pick up and go with anything. What I want to talk about next is kind of searching, how we do the deep searching, because I think this is important. I coached a person recently where they told me that they kind of used the Logos software for an e-reader. And that might be you, where you bought it, spent a lot of good money on it, and you're just like, I kind of read books. This software is so powerful to do Bible searches and library searches that I am blown away almost on a weekly basis. So let me give a good example. I was reading a book recently, and the author of that book was really on making a case that the biggest thing that Jesus preached about was the kingdom of God. And he was very determined that it had to be that language, kingdom of God. Well, Logos lets me see very quickly how the New Testament authors use kingdom. So a simple search. Anytime you search a single word, it's going to do that. And I just want to see the gospel. So when you click all passages, you can say, hey, entire Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. You go down here, you're going to find one called Gospels, or you can type it in. Do that. Now, anytime that the word kingdom at the surface level, we're not even doing Greek or Hebrew or biblical languages. When you're searching kingdom, this is all the uses. And here you can hopefully see that the word kingdom is used 127 times in 119 verses. So talks about it a lot. And that's only within the Gospels. That's not within the whole New Testament. What I love about Logos 9 is it adds this charts feature, this charts tool. So when you do a search and you click on charts, it's going to give you a chart and give you the parameters of what you searched. And it's going to say that Matthew uses kingdom 44.1% of the time, 56 results. It's going to say that Mark gives you 20 times at 15.7%. Luke uses it 36.2% at 46 times. And John only uses it 5 times. He only uses the word kingdom 5 times. Now, if someone is saying Jesus, the only thing he ever talked about, when I do a search like this and see that John only used the word kingdom 5 times, I'm going to say it's probably true that he talked about kingdom, but he didn't always use that language. He probably used different metaphors and ways to describe the kingdom of God, and it didn't have to be labeled kingdom in that way. And so that helps me see that different authors in the Bible talked about things differently. So we have one gospel, right? One gospel about Jesus, and we have the gospel according to Matthew, the gospel according to Luke, the gospel according to John, and the gospel according to Acts. And someone is asking, is this the Ark of the Covenant? You can do anything you want. We can change it to a cross. You can change it to any picture that you want. You can also say over here, I want to see it in a bar formation. So, you just play around with it. I think the pictorial version is pretty cool, and we can make it scrolls, and you can also send this, you can copy it and it'll copy the image. You can print it, you can save it, or you can send it to a sermon. Just a wonderful feature with the charts tool. So when someone says something like Jesus talked about this X, Y, and Z, you're able to do a quick search and get the information for yourself. And that took me 2-3 seconds. I hear the same thing when people say Jesus talked about money more than he talked about anything, or Jesus talked about hell more than he talked about anything. You're actually able to do a search on those words and find out very quickly what did Jesus say about those things. And like, for instance, when he talks about money, when I've done the search, he doesn't talk about money as much as money is an illustration of something deeper, usually a heart issue. So he wasn't talking about finances all the time, even though he used finances as a means to make his point. But you can do any search and go through the Gospels or whatever it is, and you'll find the information that you want. Let's go just a little bit deeper. And that's kind of a surface level text. Let me bring my Bible back up. It's going to come up. I'm in John 12 this week, and let me show you how I'm using a little bit deeper search to find out information. We're in John 12. This is Mary. She's anointing Jesus. This is before Jesus enters into Jerusalem. And Logos is going to open up things that you never thought to consider, or it's going to make you stop and think about things differently. So here, I want to stop on the word Passover. Now, I went to Bible college. I know what Passover is, but Logos lets me search the text in ways that I wasn't able to do before. This is called your context menu, and this looks overwhelming, but it gets so good once you learn it and spend a little bit of time. It looks more confusing than it actually is. What it is at the top, you can either select your word Passover, and then once you're selected here for the word Passover, then you have all these options. You can open up a Bible word study. You can do a text comparison. You can take a note and you can add a notebook. You can highlight it. You can do a Bible search, which is what we'll do in just a moment. You can you can look it up in a Bible dictionary or one of your lexicons. You can add a clipping you can do a lot. Or when you're dealing with the reference, you have all these sorts of options too. You can say, one is just the word. The other option is John 12:1, the whole reference. And then below that, you get all these language sort of things that you can search. So you can search up the root word, which is this one. The one below it that looks like the steering wheel, that is the lemma, which is the manuscript word. That's the one you're going to use the most. Excuse me, this is the root word, the one that has the check mark. But the lemma is what you're going to use the most. You can search the grammar. So like if you click on it, that word is a noun in the genitive, singular, neuter. You can do a Bible search for that. And then look what's going to happen. Anytime a word is in that grammar, it's going to show up in a morphology. So it's going to show up in a Bible search with that morphology. So you're able to see how that works every time. Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. But I want to think about the word Passover and how did the New Testament authors think of Passover? So we do a right click. This bottom one right here in the language section that looks like it has the Jesus fish, that is the sense of the word. So let's just do a search. Let's do a couple searches. So we're going to do a search on Passover with the lemma, which is the manuscript word. And I don't want to do a Bible word study. I want to do a Bible search with that word. So I'm going to do a Bible search, and let's just limit it to the Gospels. There we go. So 26 results in 24 verses is going to let us know that it is the Passover, just the word. That's how many times it's used in the text. When we do a search on the sense, which is what this one is. So when I click this, do you see at the top? Oh, my highlighter is not going to let me work in the context menu, but follow the mouse. When I'm on Passover, the sense up here, it's changed to sense Passover. So if I'm here, it changes to Greek strong because that's the selection. But when I'm in the sense Passover, when I do a Bible search on that now in the gospel, let's go to Gospels. Is it going to be the same? No, it's not going to be the same. Look at this. Let me put them side by side. This is where I think it just gets so cool. So on the left panel, we are searching for gospel as at the lemma surface level. This is the word Passover. Yet when I do a sense of the word Passover within the Gospels, we see that it's used 17 times in 13 verses. What's the difference? Well, the difference is the search that I'm doing on the right-hand side is seeking out the sense of Passover, the festival. Whereas this over here on the left-hand side are all the uses of the word Passover. And as most of you probably know, when the New Testament authors thought about Passover, sometimes they thought about Passover, the meal, and sometimes they thought about Passover, the festival or the religious gathering, the religious observance of Passover. Let me duplicate this screen so you can see what I mean. So side by side, on my left-hand side, we have the same thing now, Passover sense and Passover sense. On the left-hand side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a different word to the sense. So it says sense equal Passover meal. Now I'm not just searching Passover, I'm actually searching the meal within Passover. And when I do that search, look at that, it narrows it down even more. So on the left, now I'm able to look at all the times that Passover in the Gospels is thought of as a meal. On the right, I'm able to see that every time Passover is used as a religious festival, the religious feast, very helpful. And then this one here is every time that Passover is used just in general, both times. So it's going to help me think, for instance, look at this. Let's just get this one here. So you can see, because this is what I would do this is what I've done for my sermon on Sunday. I'm searching for all the times that Passover is used in the sense of the word, the religious festival. So we have 17 results in 13 verses. This analysis feature is very, very cool because when you click on it, let me collapse all these. Oh, I'm thinking of something else. I'm wanting to go back to the charts tool. So here we go. That's what I'm wanting to do. When I go back to the charts tool, and let's get the tablets out because we're talking about Passover. But look at this. This is incredible. This is where I think the charts tool has changed my study. I see that Passover in the sense is used 64% of the time in the Gospels in the book of John. Matthew uses it one time, only 5.9%. Mark is 11.8% at 2 times. Luke is only 3 times. John uses it the majority of the time. So what this tells me is that John is consistent in this is a theme for John in a way that it's not a theme for the other gospel writers. So even look at this. If we look over on the right-hand side and we look at the sense, just think through the text. It's at the end of Matthew's gospel. It's at the middle of Mark's gospel, but towards the end. It's towards the end in Mark's gospel. Luke has it in chapter 2 and chapter 21. So already I know those can kind of be seen as bookends. That's going to tell me something as I study the text. And then you get to John's gospel, and what do you see? His recording of the gospel. You're going to see that he has it in chapter 2 several times, chapter 6, 11, 12, 13, 18, and 19. He is working that theme throughout his recording of the gospel. That's going to tell me something about the way that he understands the passage. And I've not even opened a commentary yet. Let me show you another example of how this works that could help you in your search. I had to do this week. I do this before I even open a commentary because it is so helpful. All right, let me close these down so we can see. And again, we're not even opening books yet. We're just in the text. This is incredible. All right, so let me open back. I need to get my New American Standard, even though I love the Lexham English Bible. I came across something this week that I just could not figure out, even though I've heard it a bunch of times. I want to go over everything again. When really two things in verse 7 kind of caught me off guard when I was doing word study. Let's do the first one of let her alone. And we're kind of running short on time, so this may be the only one I do, but you can do this with any word. So down here, this is called my reverse interlinear. So I love this because when you click on a word, as you can see, it's highlighted, and then it highlights that word within the text. I took 4 semesters of Greek. I don't remember much of it. I'm probably guessing most of you aren't Greek scholars either. You might have had a little, but you don't even have to know Greek to do this. It's just fantastic. So let me show you. So in the word let, which is you get all this information of the manuscript and the lemma and the root and the morphology of the word, or Strong's or the LNN. You even get the sense. I did the same thing here where I want to do a search on the lemma. And so I'm going to do a Bible search on the word lemma. And when I'm studying a word, I generally like to start within the book. And the Bible search tool makes that very easy to do. So this is all the times that John uses that lemma, which is apheneme, within the text. Now look how interesting this is. I'm still chewing on this. Verses 4, all these in chapter 4 all the way through 18 are let. In fact, let me do the analysis feature so you can kind of see how that works. You click on analysis. This is going to now give you an analysis of all those words of how they're used. So let's collapse all. This is how all those words are used, this lemma in the book of John. Look, most of them are let, leaves, let, but then we get this idea of forgive and forgiven. And this threw me off when I saw this morning. John, for the majority of his uses of this, or the translators, they understood it to be let or leave. And yet the translators for the NASB in verse 23 of chapter 20 uses the word forgive. Threw me off because I'm thinking, how are those things connected? Well, what you can do to get a better perspective is let's branch it out a little bit. Now let's see how that's used in the Gospels. Now, Matthew, look at this. So we have 130 results and 117 verses. Matthew is using forgive, and we can do an analysis view. But it's going to make me understand. Now I get to see how the other gospel writers use the word forgive and forgiven. It's used 23 times and 20 times for forgiven. There, I'm able to see how other people have translated that word in other gospels. So it makes things pop out to the text and makes me want to explore the text. Let me show one more quick thing before I hand it back to Greg that I think you'll find pretty neat. One of the things that I've been kind of wrestling with recently is Jesus says, teach them to obey everything that I've commanded. And I want to say, well, how do I know what he's commanded? Very easy to do. We're going to do a morphology search. And you may not know Greek morphology, but that's okay. To open up a search, you click on search, you go to your morph tab. This is where you get to use some of the original languages, and all you're going to want to make sure you're in the Greek, or if you're doing the Hebrew, do the Hebrew. But I'm going to click the @ symbol, which is going to populate all these different parts of speech. Now, when I think of commands, I think of imperatives, go do this, take that, the command, the imperative. So I know that's a verb, and I know that it is in the, we're going to say I want it in the active voice, and I want the imperative mood. So it's a verb in the active imperative, and then you just click enter. Now, these are all the active imperatives in the actual text. But what we want to do is we want to add a translation like this, an ASB. There it is. There it begins to populate. And I will very quickly be able to go through the different sorts of commands that are given in the New Testament. Fantastic feature. And you can actually save this as a visual filter. So let me show you how to do that. I'll go to mine because we're going to run close on. I could talk about Logos for hours. I love this software. But you create a visual filter. And let me pull up mine, Greek morph visual filters. And that's the first one, which is it's the same symbol at the other one. So that means it's a verb in the imperative. You can change any sort of outlining feature here. And then when I'm in my Bible, let's make sure you got to have that visual filter on. Yep, it's on. So yeah. Oh, well, it's the word let. The word let is an imperative. So anytime there's an imperative in the text, look at all that. Unbind, let, remove. It pops out on the screen to me. Come see. So instead of highlighting certain words, you can do some Greek morphology and get it going. So I'm going to stop there because I've gone way longer than Greg has graciously given me, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
No, Ryland, this is great. By the way, everyone, I'm going to email everyone who signed up for this webinar the link so you can watch it again, and you can even share it with friends, and they can watch it whenever they want. But the discount, logos.com/December, is only good until Saturday at midnight, so the 19th at midnight. And so if you want to get the best discount we're going to offer before the year ends, this is it. So logos.com/December. Also, if you would like to upgrade, you want better payment plan options, email me at greg.monette@logos.com, or you can reply to the email where you got the link from. And let me know, and we can help the payment plan. Ryland, I want to really thank you for taking us deeper into the use of the software. It's been excellent. I know for sure some of those features, I can see great feedback in the comments section from a lot of people. You really know your stuff, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And so once again, if you guys want to launch into Logos for the first time, you go to logos.com/December. Also, the coupon code is, I believe it says it on there. It is December 1220. December 1220 is the coupon code to get the discount. And so that's where you need to go to get the discount. The package that gets you all the features in Logos, so all the original language tools, etc. Gold is the new package that gives you all the features. So that's the place I'd recommend starting. I wouldn't go any less than the silver because you lose original language features. So I would at least go silver, but if you want all the features, go with gold. And that's it. It's we've been basically hitting an hour right on, and that was great, Ryland. I'd love to have you do this again. So maybe sometime in January we can do another nightly. We can do a one-off and learn some other new features. But hey, all of you, wherever you are around the world, Merry Christmas. God bless. It's exciting the tools we have to study the Bible. We live in like the golden era for doing Bible study. There's never been a better time to be alive to study the biblical text because of the tools that we have to work from. Calvin, Luther, Zwingli, all the church fathers would have given their eye teeth to have the tools that we have to study the biblical text. So once again, thank you to all of you around the world. Hey, Dublin, Ireland, awesome. That's where my grandfather's from. Anyways, God bless. Ryland, you're the man. Merry Christmas. Take care, everyone. See you later.